Are you looking to get started on your live streaming journey? It can be difficult if you don't have an audience. So, in this episode, Mel and I are going to be sitting down with Paul Andre de Vera to learn about how to grow your live stream quickly. You see, the key thing about Paul is that he had 0 subscribers when he got started. And today he has well over 2,000 subscribers, quite a number of views as well. So, I'm very excited to be talking with Paul. But first, what I want to do is I want to bring on Mel. Mel co-host with me here on this episode. And so it's great to have you join us, Mel, for Launcher Live.
Hey, how are you, Christian? I'm doing well.
Doing fantastic. And by the way, for those of you, if you're listening to this on the podcast, we also have a video episode of this as well at launcher.live/EP78. I got to remember all the numbers. So EP78. So Mel, you and I both know like how hard it is to get started live streaming. I mean, for a lot of people, it's a challenge, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people just get stuck. They wait till they're ready and they don't ever get started. And that's one of the things that we always like to kind of get people is, hey, just get started. But once you are started and once you are going live, to actually get the results you want and to grow and to hit your goals, then start implementing some strategies and some stuff. And that's why I'm actually really, really excited about today's episode, because it's about SEO and some other things about growing quickly. And those are all key elements. I mean, we're not just doing this for fun and as a hobby. I mean, maybe some people are, but we want to get results, whether it be growing our channel, growing our audience, or making money even. So I'm pretty excited about today's episode.
I am too, actually. So we're going to go and bring on Paul, and we're going to have him talk to you about some tips maybe he might have that helped him out along his journey. Also, maybe talk about, some of the things he kind of wish he knew so that he can kind of impart some of that knowledge. So Paul Andre de Vera, welcome to Launcher Live. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Hello, Christian. Hello, Melanie. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Hey, Paul.
Good.
So can you do us a favor? Did we tell people enough about you, or is there anything else you want to add?
Oh, I usually introduce my guests a certain way on my show.
Yeah.
And I want to always introduce myself the way I introduce my guests. Is that cool if I try this out here?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Paul's diverse technical and creative background and entrepreneurship has led him to build successful offline and online businesses. In addition to Paul's business ventures, he is currently the search marketing global lead at Workday and has 20 plus years of experience in marketing. He has won the best international SEO at Brightest Share 19. He currently ranks #1 for YouTube ranking factors for his video on YouTube and Google. In his free time, he runs his own digital agency, Dream Digital, and has the host and producer of the SEO video show. Please welcome Paul Andre.
That was pretty cool, actually.
That was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's that flavor, right? It's like something that you just add to your show that just makes a guest feel special. It's like, oh.
So we're using a Go XLR to do that. What were you using?
Yeah, Go XLR. I mean, it's one of those things as a one-man band streamer, right? I mean, it's maybe not good for podcasting because you don't have that many XLR outlets, but for a one-man show, it's a great tool.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
And I like the fact that, again, I mean, this is like, I'm sure like when you probably first started, you probably didn't have this. It was just like, hey, I decided to throw it in at some point, right?
Yeah, actually, I did. So when I first started, I really, really kind of just researched the whole thing. It's something that I did want to get serious about. And it was one of those things where it's like, how do I get live streaming? I mean, when I first started, I had no clue how to live stream. I started the channel in April, and I think my first live stream was in July of last year.
So do us a favor. So, okay, obviously, I mean, you did a fantastic intro about yourself. Can you tell us more about the show, SEO video show that you started?
So the SEO video show is a show that I started when we were all stuck at home. I wanted to try something new. I was listening to podcasts, and I wanted to always start my own podcast. But when I started staying at home, I've seen that the podcasters were actually doing video. So like, that was something that I was thought about, like I was interested in doing. And I was like, I had no clue how to do it. And so I was like, hey, it's a good place to start. We have more time working from home. So it was something that I just did and kind of like bought a course. I know I could have watched a lot of videos online, YouTube's, but when you buy a course, it's all packaged and it's like a nice process. Then you can just learn it really quickly. And I was able to learn how to live stream in about 3 months with all my materials and screens and equipment.
Very cool. So okay, in terms of numbers, okay, so I think I mentioned you have like 2,000 subscribers. About how many views have you generated as well?
About 75,000 so far.
Fantastic. And again, I mean, and I like the idea of taking a course, for example, because some of the challenges, like if you want to get started, for example, live streaming, there are so many different people making videos, and some people are like showing you certain pieces, but they're not showing you like everything, or maybe they have good content that helps with certain aspects, but they don't have the piece that you need. So it is nice to, definitely buy a course. I definitely think that courses can help, get you moving faster, because, everything is pretty much hand selected for you to get you, get you started on your live streaming journey. So what are some of the, I guess, what are some of the biggest challenges, I guess, that you noticed when you got started, like you said, you had 0 subscribers.
Mhm.
Like, what was it like that first week that you started streaming, or maybe even the first few months, or did you go like, and all of a sudden start growing really quickly?
Well, I mean, so I started channel. So I had about a few months before I actually went live, right? So I started the channel from 0. It was like I wanted to make sure I actually had some content on there so people know about the content. And I did a 30-day lead up to my live show. So it was kind of like a way to promote the live show. And I was just posting videos. I was answering questions on Quora, posting it, just kind of like an SEO would do, like find these keywords with search volume and kind of get out there. And then I got to my first 100 subscribers by literally asking my family. I was like, Mom, Dad, aunties, uncles are all within my top 100 subscribers of the show. And then from there, I was able to kind of get that vanity URL, right? And then when you have that vanity URL, you're able to create that branding, that brand awareness. And that's how I actually got things started, asking family.
Nice. And so in terms of, okay, so you mentioned that vanity URL. Can you kind of talk about some of those aspects there? Because obviously, like when you start a YouTube channel, you need to have, and I think the numbers are still the same, 100 subscribers, right? To be able to get a custom URL, something like youtube.com/ in this case, I can't use launcher live yet, but sorry, I'm not quite at the number yet for that vanity URL, but youtube.com/ some username. And then obviously you need 4,000 hours of consecutive watch time to be able to enable the monetization aspect, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what did you do, I guess, to get you to some of those milestones initially? So obviously your friends and family, you ask them to subscribe. That's great. What about getting the view count? Like, how did you get 4,000 hours of watch time?
So you need to get to at least 1,000 subscribers, right? And then the 4,000 view watch time. So when I started posting all these videos and I started doing these lives, that gave me the amount of video time I was able to promote and have other people watch. One of the things that you always do to help promote and create more live watch time on your streams is to always share playlists. Share your video, add your video to a playlist with all your other videos, and share playlists. That way, like when people watch it, sometimes they may let it run and every single video will play one after each other. And then it'll eventually just lead up to 4,000 subscribers. 4,000 watch hours. And I was able to hit this in about, I believe, 6 months. So it took me 6 months to get monetized here on YouTube.
Fantastic.
That is amazing, actually. And those numbers are incredible. And I love the sharing of playlists and things too. And I think we'll probably have you share even some more tips about how you got to those numbers, or how others can do that as well. But Paul, you've said before, that live streaming is one thing, but having a live show takes it to a whole nother level. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, we can all live stream, right? But when you create like a talk show, like a late night talk show on TV, you have like specific segments. You incorporate music. You provide cuts as you're like editing a video live. The production value that will shock and awe the audience will keep them like glued to the screen. For example, like I was personally inspired by a show in the 90s called Talk Soup. It's where like a host would go over clips of the past talk shows the past week, and I would do the same with SEO videos released within the past week and add commentary. I loved wrestling growing up. As you notice, I incorporated like that announcer voice. And I went onto Cameo and found a professional wrestler to do some SEO jokes for me, which I also incorporate
that's
to incorporate in my streams. I believe a live show provides an entertaining experience with scripts, live cuts, graphics, and sound effects.
Yeah, I really like where you're going with this, because I do think that sometimes to get your audience, you talked about how you started from zero, you had your aunts and uncles and, your family, but to actually start to get your viewers to come back, I do think that giving them a bit of a structure or routine in your show, if you will, is absolutely one of those things, because I do think that people like to be wowed, but they also enjoy kind of knowing what's coming next. And so we do see that's why consistency is important. The same day, same time every week, is one of those ways that tends to work to get viewers to come back because they know what to expect. And I think what you're talking about, I totally I love that, because having those segments, your audience knows, oh, he's going to do this introduction with this crazy voice. So you're creating something that's they remember, but it's unique and different each time, but they can be a part of it because they can be there with you live. But having that show experience, I do think that is something that a lot of live streamers are missing the mark on. Now, but a follow-up question to that, do you think that, so let's say, for example, live streaming, people are using live video and whatnot, and they want to have a live show, can they do a mix? Can they have some that are just a live video, they're just doing a live stream versus, they have that weekly show, but then they have other live streams that kind of complement it. Do you believe in that strategy, or what are your thoughts on that?
On having maybe 2 live streams or videos?
Yeah, you have a live show, right? That's part of your core stuff. But then also doing other live streams that are maybe not quite so produced or scripted or segmented, that are just more like that fringe kind of content that surrounds your main core content of that live show. I'm curious what your thoughts are about that strategy.
Oh, I'm totally for that. I mean, once you have the audience to actually be able to do that and do Q&As with an audience that will come to you, I mean, you'll get great feedback. I mean, every week, I always ask people that will email me hey, give me some feedback, give me feedback. My show improves every week by getting that instant feedback with these live streams. And sometimes in the very, very beginning, in my pre-show, I actually have a pre-show, and that's when I talk to the audience. I'll ask them questions. Hey, what worked? What didn't? What do you guys want to see? And then that's when I get kind of their feedback on certain things. And I totally will be doing that soon too, but it's just, when you produce a show, it does take a lot of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love it.
So in terms of that pre-show, so for example, is it hey, I start my stream 15 minutes early and kind of talk with people, or is it a totally separate show and then you kind of move them into the other one, or how do you work there?
No, so my particular pre-show is I'll have them seeing everything happening in the background. They can hear the conversation with who I'm interviewing in the background, and then I'll ask where everyone's from and do an air horn, give them a shout out, and then I have a weekly contest. So all they have to do is put "I love SEO" in the live chat or in the comments below, and they get automatically entered every week. And in order for them to win, they got to tune in during the pre-show countdown when I spin the wheel and see if their name gets chosen. So that way I can get more people in the show before it starts.
Very cool. And I guess, the key thing also with something like that is, again, that's sort of creating, going back to kind of what Mel was saying there, the voice thing, it's also a hook in a way to keep them tuning in. They have to join the pre-show in order to be part of, for example, if you're going to do a giveaway or anything like that, they have to be part of the, main show, but they have to be part of both. It's just a basic requirement. So I like the idea of having that way to keep people engaged. So, kind of going back a little bit. So your show is SEO video show, right? And I'm going to assume it's about optimizing videos for search. Is that correct? Is that a right assumption there? Or
it's video. It's actually SEO in general, from whether it's Google videos, and I do video SEO, and I actually named it on purpose, video SEO, because I do want to start optimizing video for SEO. Now, if you search video SEO on YouTube, my channels actually comes up within the top results. So that's something that actually was one of my goals for the channel.
So my question for you is, and this is kind of to help our our viewers and our listeners. So how did you arrive at this niche? So, because that's the other thing. You can't just for example, if you wanted to talk about SEO, there's so much you could cover. You could go the whole technical route. You could go, video SEO, and your videos could just be about video SEO. So for some people, it's sort of overwhelming, I think, to to try to figure out, okay, well, going back to what Mel said, what's your core content? What's some of your outside, your smaller pieces of content there. But how did you arrive at this niche for your show?
Well, this certain niche is something that I do for a living. It's something that I love doing and I love talking about. And I kind of combined like all my other skills with it. Like I wanted to practice my like public speaking. I wanted to find a way to increase my personal branding. And so I put that all together in this show, and it's creating me as that authority within the industry. And I find myself like getting a lot of emails, helping a bunch of people out. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is being able to help other people going out. I mean, you wouldn't want to start a channel if doing tech reviews if you're not a techie, right? Or maybe if you're a gardener, do a review on garden supplies. I mean, and it was just one of the things where I just what I love doing and having fun. I know, like, if you don't have fun doing it, it's like there's really no point.
So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so sorry, Christian. I was going to say, I totally agree. And I think that you're onto something with that, because I think that there's a lot of burnout when it comes to social media or creating content or growing your audience, growing your business, whatever it is. And burnout happens a lot with people because, they want this quick success. They see what they want. They see those numbers that they want to get to, those metrics, as we talked about earlier. And I think that people sometimes get really eager and they think that, oh, I'm going to start creating live videos and everybody's going to come and I'm going to make all this money and I'm going to be a YouTuber or whatever, but it just doesn't happen that way. It is absolutely, there's a reason why there's that saying, this is a marathon, not a sprint. There are, of course, cases and sometimes where people have fast success. You obviously have had some very quick success, but you obviously are also very skilled at some of these things that are going to help that. But to somebody who's maybe not totally, a marketing guru or an SEO genius, I always call SEO, I always say it's a necessary evil. So I'm glad that you geek out on SEO.
Yeah.
Like you and I are going to be friends so that you can help me, because I hate SEO, right? But so it can be easy to get demotivated when it comes to this process, because it is not a fast process for a lot of people. So do you have any tips for anyone or anything to share, maybe even like, a story of your own, just about how can somebody stay motivated as they're going through this growth journey? Because again, as many of us know, it's a slow process at first. You go live and there's nobody there, and you go live again and there's nobody there again. And it takes time to build that audience. So what are some tips you can share, or some things you can share that help people stay motivated during that kind of initial, drudgy spot?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I've done that got me started and actually kept me motivated was being a part of a mastermind. It has helped me stay motivated and letting, when you let the group know that what you're doing, you become you're held accountable for a certain thing. That's what masterminds do. And then if you just love helping each other, and when you get those messages that they applied what you were teaching and they learned, and I mean, it just adds fuel to the fire when you're passionate, and just keeps you going. It's one of those things where, if you want to even increase it, like, again, like, you don't have, if you start with 0 subscribers, you can definitely have 1 or 2 people on your live. Just really tell a friend to come by, tell your mom or dad, just hey, just watch it, just test it out. I actually did like an episode 0 to kind of do all the testing stuff like that with someone. And we had like it was a buddy and another buddy. He was like pretending to be like the person on the live, but just really, really inviting people personally. They'll come up and show up for you.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. So I know we were talking about, growing your channel and just, I like what you talked about. First of all, just, I gotta say, I totally agree about the mastermind. I think that this journey of entrepreneurship or whatever it might be that somebody's trying to do, having people that get what you're doing or understand it in that like inner circle, whether it's, even if it's just 2 or 3 people or 10 people or whatever it might be, I totally agree. I think that having that kind of, that your people, as I always say, to go to lean on those good days and bad days, even the celebrations. It's like, I always make the joke that there's people in my life, and I'm like, if I were to call them and be like, oh my gosh, this just happened, they'd be like, I have no clue what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So I do think that it not only just to help you keep going, but also people that get what you're celebrating too. But so talking about growing, because you obviously had this fast growth, and you shared about sharing the playlist earlier, which I love that idea. Give us like a quick rapid fire just of some other ideas that you have about how someone can grow their presence online. How can they really make this happen? And not really just like overnight, but just like, what are some of your best tips to help get that growth that they're looking for with their online presence?
You bet. I mean, live streaming is a product of you, right? You promote your product as you would do as if you were at a company. Your stream becomes like your personal brand. You'll get instant feedback. And then you can always ask what works and what's not. And so when you apply this, it's when you're able to create a product that's well oiled. And then what you do is go out to all your social networks, right? What I do is when I add people on LinkedIn or if people try to add me on LinkedIn, I have a canned response promoting the show. So it's kind of you're daisy chaining any kind of connections that you make. If you're any type of communities, let's say like I'm in part of a bunch of SEO communities. I mean, those guys are going to support you. They're rooting for you, so they will help you share your channel, and they'll also help you with the algorithm. Here's another thing: when you do SEO, they'll help you with engagement. They'll watch it, they'll like it, they'll share it. It's something that your own community will do. And again, your community could just be 3 of your friends, 4 of your family members, and it's just being able to stack this the way of when you start talking to people, like again from other networks. I think one of the ways I was able to bring my more traffic to my channel from other channels was like, let's say on Reddit and Quora. Like I would go to questions there, answer questions, and then kind of like, hey, I'll kind of sneak in my, hey, if you want to learn more, I have something show about this stuff. And one of the other tips that I found that really, really worked is like, okay, if you want to grow a podcast, you get on other podcasts. If you want to grow a YouTube channel, live streaming, you go on other people's live streams. If you drop some knowledge in a live chat and they throw you up on screen, that's free promotion. That's like, and then the more you show up, they're like, with a name like SEO video show, it's like, oh, SEO video show. It does create curiosity and gets more people coming along.
Yeah, I love that. I love also what you said about getting in other people's content. I totally agree. I think that's one of the best ways you can reach more people in a bit of an organic way. It just, takes your time, but you're sharing your gifts with even more people. So I love that. That was fantastic.
So in terms of like I love the points that you made about like joining, for example, with other people who are, in a similar industry. When we start talking about marketing, I will say this, like one of the big challenges with marketing is you're all playing in the same sandbox essentially, right? And so in your case, like I like the fact that you leveraged your background to help build your niche for your channel. You didn't just, start a YouTube channel and say, hey, I'm going to all of a sudden start talking about SEO. You leverage something you already knew, and I think that's a key point that a lot of people need to realize is that when you're going to start a live stream, don't just start a live stream about anything. Be very deliberate about what your topic is going to be about. For example, if you're into, Mel, can you come up with some examples maybe on this? Like if you're into, I don't know, sports, for example,
right.
Go and join groups, for example, of other sports enthusiasts. If you're an audiophile and you really like, say you want like the Rodecaster Pro or things like that, go and join those communities of those people, where you all are there to support one another, not necessarily compete with one another. Paul, another thing I think also, if somebody, do you have any other tips maybe that I've kind of left out? How did you identify like the first, like, what are the right communities that you should go join? Like, how did you find those masterminds, things like that?
Yeah, a lot of these things, and you can get a lot of great content ideas by just answering questions on Quora and Reddit. You just go to the subreddits and see what people are talking about. You'll see the latest trends, see who's upvoted, what topics have been upvoted, get trends from there. Another quick grow hack that's a little more advanced, which I actually wish I knew like a lot earlier, was when you set up a YouTube channel, set up a Google Ads account and attach your channel so you can start creating an audience pool of all your actual viewers and visitors. And then when you're ready to do some advertising, you can easily target your past viewers for pennies per view.
Interesting. I've never heard of that strategy. That's actually fascinating. So when you attach your Google Ads account to your YouTube channel, you don't even really have to be using the Google Ads account. You're basically just, it's like Google Analytics, you're not tracking data until you turn it on essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. I love that. Didn't know that. Yeah. Bonus. I can't wait to go back and listen to this episode and take notes again, like re-listen to it all. So
So create an audience, right? You're creating an audience pool. So there's, you go to audiences and it's like attach your viewers and make sure you extend the cookie pool to the furthest. I think it's like about 500 days. So you can start recording from, now until 500 days. So if you wanted to advertise 500 days from now, you can still reach that person that watched your video like 500 days ago.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, one last question. It's a bonus question. So obviously kind of in this topic, you mentioned obviously, Google Ads and whatnot. Talking about growth or SEO, are there any tools? What are your favorite tools or apps that you kind of use to support those efforts? Like, I mean, I know like TubeBuddy is really, popular, but what are some of the tools or apps that you use or that you recommend that people use in regards to this growth strategy?
Yeah, of course. So yes, I use TubeBuddy. It's a tool, my tool of choice. But the ultimate tool of research is looking at the top. I mean, if you're going to do some SEO and see some topics, look at the top videos within your niche, and then kind of like see what they're doing. Like look at their thumbnails, observe their titles, go into the content, mention, talk about their content. Google Trends itself also has a YouTube trending search feature where you can see which is trending on YouTube. And so if you use those things, just and combine them together, you can find great ways to promote your videos.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's been great. Yeah. And so I got to say, I love hearing just all the fact that you started at zero, again, you made that you made that journey to hit that 2,000 subs, to hit the watch count so you can get the monetization. I mean, those little things right there. I mean, those are going to, I think, they give you that little bit of boost in confidence. I think the other thing also, while I don't always like to have, family, for example, go and like a channel, things like that. I do like the fact that, but again, I mean, that also, it does, like, even if you don't know, maybe if you don't know it's your family, like it does kind of give you that a little bit of a boost as well to kind of keep you motivated and keep you going to grow that live stream. So one, I guess two, sort of like an aside, and then one last question, I guess. Did you ever get to a point where you were like ready to just throw in the towel, like when you were doing this, or did you have enough momentum to get yourself going?
It's something I've always wanted to do, because one of the main things that helped, one of my goals for this channel, I even made it in my intro video, is to help me learn more about SEO by interviewing other SEO professionals. So this show is actually sharpening my skills as an SEO, and it's a way for me to kind of master the art of SEO is by learning and teaching from others. And then it's one of those things where I can also, easily promote it through my guests, right? If my guests are always like willing to share it out to their network, and it just kind of like, expands that way too. Like but you have to ask, right? You have to ask at the end, it's like, hey, I'd appreciate it if, if you like the episode, please share it out. And sometimes I'll even promote it even before they're on. So it's something that's, I think, will help you just even grow even more.
Fantastic. So just one last question for you. Where can people connect with Paul Andre de Vera to learn about you, to learn about SEO video show?
Of course, I'm at Paul Andre on Twitter. I'm active on there. At Paul Andre at LinkedIn, which is my social media of choice. And I mean, you can also just Google me, Paul Andre de Vera. I use Google as my homepage since I'm an SEO. I control the top 10 results on there. If you want to see all my other properties, just Google Paul Andre de Vera.
So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I just, I got to say, for those of you who have been wanting to grow your live streams, for example, I mean, make sure you take some of the tips and the information that Paul shared here and start to implement some of those, those tips and those best practices that he shared. And I think for me, I mean, I think if I had to give one piece of advice, it would be, follow your passion. So, do something that you can talk about forever, that you could be on camera talking about it, regardless of if anyone is viewing or not. Because again, that's going to shine through. And I think that's going to help get more people to continue watching your live streams, for example, and really learn more about you. And I love also, by the way, the tips you shared about, going, and commenting on going on other live streams, for example. Like, don't be afraid to do that. Do it in an organic manner. Don't just go there and, just start spamming them with, hey, go check out my course and things like that, but actually let your knowledge, and your passion shine through. And I think you're going to, at that point, see, you're getting a lot of people that are going to actually want to follow what you're doing. So, Mel, is there anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I loved all these tips. I loved it all. I think that there's so many people that need help with these types of things. And we were a little, we talked about a number of things. And I just think that it was such a great conversation. And Paul, I just want to say again, thank you so much for joining us today on this episode.
No, thank you for having me on.
So I want to thank everybody for joining us for what was essentially episode 78 of the Launch Your Live podcast. Also, the live stream over on YouTube. Remember, if you have any questions, You're welcome to put them in the comments, for example. You can also reach out to us at Launcher Live on all of the social media platforms. And for more information on this particular episode, all you have to do is go to launcher.live/EP78. We'll see you all on a future episode. Thanks a lot.